Live. I'm live again. Welcome everybody to take two. Technical difficulties. Sure, I'm centered in the picture here. Okay, so in order to make sure this time that the mic stays on, I got out my iPad so that I could read the question and not have to go to a different screen, which caused something to go nuts, I guess. So at any rate, and I saw a few of you actually did join me, even folks that it's kind of late. It's like 8 hours ahead of me out there. So, so anyway, I actually started making this as a pre-recorded video that I was going to put up, and I said, what the heck, why don't I just do it live? And then I get the recording. I'll download the recording. I'll have it. So I'm doing that. And I'm just going to make one more check on the mic. Make sure the mic is the right mic and it is working. So you will all tell me, will you not, if the sound is not there. So I'm seeing smiley faces. So I guess I have sound this time. So there was a question that got asked, posted in my private group on Facebook. And if you're not in the private group, you damn well should be. And I really liked it because it was a non-dual question. It was a question about past lives, but it had a maturity about it. Sorry, I had some stuff melting up from making candles, so I forgot to take it off before I got onto the live stream. Anyway, there was a maturity about the question and a lot of nuance to it so I wanted to answer it publicly. So the question is this: it's a bit long. It's 1:53. I might not make it till the end. That's what I thought. It's very late there. It says, hi, GP. Quite a few months back, I asked a question on a live satsang of yours. I have a private group on Facebook. I'm sure I told you about it. Yes, I'm almost certain I told you about it. So it's just just type in GP Walsh spiritual teacher and you'll find it, and click on it and I'll let you in. Anyway, a few months back, I asked a question on a live satsang of yours. Time was running out, so you couldn't explain. I noticed that you had mentioned past life healing sometimes while I'm talking about healing past traumas. But my questions are not exactly to do with the healing. The thing is that the consciousness level, there's just one whole. And that is what I also felt during meditations. What is interesting is quite some time back during meditation sessions, I experienced scenes, characters, and emotions so vividly that the only explanation for them was spontaneous memories of past lives. Now, I have a slight resistance to accepting past lives, even though where I am from, the culture it is steeped in karma and past lives. Now, before I get to the question she asked, I want to address the first part of it, the first part of it, because it does come up. And when I'm using EFT, especially, and inner reconciliation as well, actually, for both of those, so a rather unusual phenomena can occur. Things can just come up from out of nowhere. And you'll hear me oftentimes refer to people that something came up that was clearly not of this particular life, not a particular instance, an actual event in this life. And it's obvious that it isn't. Energetically, it feels different. And so I'll say it was a past life experience, and then move on. I say that it's just kind of a shorthand because you said that the only explanation was that a spontaneous memory of a past life. Well, there's another explanation. It isn't necessarily that. And as a matter of fact, for the most part, the experience of past life experiences is an unprovable phenomena. It's an idea we have, an interpretation. It must have come from a past life. And it'll have a familiar feel to it, right? And it very well may have, right? The thing is, we don't know for sure, right? There's no historical way to really validate it, that you were this person at this time. Yeah, there have been some interesting stories of children who are remembering things. I had a very interesting story meeting my mother's incarnation as a 2-year-old girl. And it seemed like the logical explanation, but can I prove it? Absolutely no. And here's the important part. When you're talking about healing trauma, you don't need to know. It is irrelevant to the process of healing, whether it was a remembered event from a past life, a remembered event from this life, or something else altogether. And there is something else altogether. Remember that the energy system is an irrational system, right? It isn't logical. It isn't step by step. It isn't working everything out. It's constantly creating stories. When it is communicating itself, especially during the healing process, when you are connecting and creating an inner space of safety that allows this traumatized energy to release, in the process, as an assistance to it, it can present all sorts of images. They're dreamlike images. They can be mythological. They can be metaphorical. They may have absolutely no basis in any historical reality whatsoever. It's just making stuff up to communicate to you, like a dream at night. Right? There's not necessarily any connection in your dream to some real event or even a real person. Even if a real person shows up, it's not actually a real person. It's an image that your mind has created. And so you just kind of take the whole thing with a grain of salt. Now, I don't ask it, right? Was this a past life? Is it, or is this a metaphor? It's a waste of time. That's too conceptual. I just receive whatever it gives me. And then I may ask, it may be complete in and of itself, because sometimes what you'll experience is the kind of the byproduct of the energy releasing. And sometimes it's actually part of the process itself, and it needs something from you. In which case I'll ask, do I need to do something here? Or do you want to explain this to me? You don't have to if you don't want to try to participate as much as I need to allow the energy the trauma to finally be released. So that's the first thing I want to say about it. We don't have to draw a conclusion about it. There's another alternative to the whole past life thing, which is simply, the dream started at the moment we call our birth, and then this is really interesting. This entire dream includes past lives. In fact, it's a way you can look at it completely outside of time, because time is only within our perspective here. So we see ourselves in time, therefore having multiple lives. So you see, it's not as cut and dry as people think. So now let me get to her questions, which actually begin to ask that kind of stuff. And just hello to everybody's here. It's a very spontaneous, you're just joining me. It's a very spontaneous thing that I just decided to do now because I had this question and I wanted to record it. And I thought, what better way to do it than just do it live and download the recording and I'll have it. So her question was regarding these past lives that come up in a vivid experience yourself. How can there be past incarnations of mine when I am simply consciousness taking a form and birthing on earth? Well, let me address that one first, and I may get to, and it may actually cover all of them. How can there be past incarnations of mine when I am simply consciousness taking form and birthing on earth? The only way to think of past lives is like you thought of the dream you had last night. You didn't birth on earth. Earth is the dream. We see this incarnation. We have this idea that the universe is this real thing, and that you and I are going in and out of it. It's this solid, absolute, objective reality, and then we get born into it, and then we die out of it. We come back, and we die. Right? I mean, it's not that at all. It's not the reality, and you come and go. You're the reality, and it comes and goes. Just like the world of the dream you had last night, and the dream you had the night before, and the night before that, and a whole bunch of dreams, the vast majority of which, mercifully, we don't remember. Just like past lives. So what it really is a sequence of dreams. The dreamer, the dreamer is God, Vishnu, Shiva, the true beingness that's having the dream. The character in the dream is just who I happen to be in this, who happens to appear in this life. And in another life, you thought you were them, right? And mercifully, we don't remember all of those either. You don't remember what you had for breakfast 2 days ago, right? I do, because I made something special. If it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't remember. And a month from now, what was that again? I don't remember. So first off, you have to really understand the whole idea of past lives and reincarnation and the wheel of birth and death from a non-dual perspective. So you didn't become anybody. There's not a soul that entered into this body. Now, she said, even now in this form, I'm not the same as everything in me is getting renewed every minute. Absolutely. Thoughts are changing. The body's constantly changing. Sensation is changing. Emotion. None of this is stable. It's in a constant flow. Mercy me. I see you. Me eating, communicating. Seems like a dreaming. Yes, it is. So how can this I be reborn? On what basis does that identification come up with that? That was me in past life. Well, that I can't be reborn. The I of the past life is gone. Just like whoever you were in the dream you had last night, right? You were somebody. You may have been somebody different. You might have had a different body. You might have been a different gender, right? completely different. You might have both genders. That's happened to me, right? That was kind of well, that's interesting. So does that one get reborn in the next dream? No. The character in the dreamer is not the I that's being reborn. It is the consciousness that is experiencing it. And that consciousness that is experiencing it is not many. It's one. When we say the soul's rebirth, how do we differentiate souls? Based on emotions and imprints of experiences each soul carries. Well, actually, from the point of view of your life, this life as a dream, all the other souls are simply characters in your dream. They have no real existence. Now, this is a tough one for us to approach, but this is the pure non-dual perspective. Right? How many of us actually are there? Who's the actual dreamer? As you said, so if I'm healing trauma of past lives, how do they identify as my lives? They don't, you do. You identify them as your lives, right? That is experiences you have had. And you can think of, my life as, that drugged out rock and roll drummer in my late teens bears no resemblance to this life. I could say it's a past life. It really was. That person is dead and gone. The baby me, the child me, the adult me, all the phases, at my age, there's been a lot of past lives. There's simply been a consistency, something kind of a thread running through that makes it feel like it's all me, but they're very different. As different as night and day. That the me back then and the me now, there's no resemblance, right? Well, there's some resemblance. Somebody even from my high school recognized me and said, "Aren't you here on YouTube? Aren't you that guy in Palatine High School?" I said, "Yeah, that was me. And my hair was actually longer. It was curlier, and it wasn't white." So, isn't it all then in the collective consciousness? It's not a collective consciousness. It's one consciousness. And I really encourage everybody to examine this from the point of view, from the purely your own subjective experience. Many of my questions are coming from a sense of identification of the body, but I'm just surprised of how did I come across scenes and emotions that I identified with from the past. It's just the mind trying to explain the experience. The experience you had was very much there. Do you really need to explain it? So now I've got two different ways you can interpret it. Which one's right? Which one's wrong? Who knows? I mean, an entire past life was in fact just another dream being conjured up. So am I just surprised that I came up from the past? If the only basis of existence is I am, and that's where I want to put the final focus about this. In your night dream, you may have very vivid experiences. You may have conversations. You may go on great journeys. You may know people, meet people, right? You may have great sensual experiences that you actually feel in your dream body. But there's nothing actually touching you. There's nobody there. It's all you. When we talk about other souls and other experiences and what other people are experiencing and the kind of things they had, you're actually only talking about what you believe it to be. You're talking about who you think they are. We believe ourselves to be a private, personal soul. I'm a separate self. And therefore, I assume there's all these separate selves around me, that they're all different selves having the same experience as me. You have no idea if that's true. One of the key insights into the whole non-dual exploration is this recognition that you have no idea what anybody is, what they're thinking, who they are, where they came from. Truth of the matter is, you don't even know if anybody exists. The only thing you know for sure is you. And all the experiences you have, the experience of lifetime after lifetime, this experience, weird stuff, interesting things, paranormal, voices, whatever it might be, which we then try to explain through some way, is just the experience you are having. It can be a complete hallucination. The only thing you know for sure is I am. That's what it means by the sole basis of real existence. That which is real is I am. From there, from that point of view, everything else are conventions, they're ways of thinking, they're ways of exploring, but none of them have absolute authority. None of them, not one. They're interesting, they're useful. I mean, you hear me say it, it's coming from a past life, right? It's useful for me to do it, but I don't use that as an absolute truth. It's a relative convention we use just for the sake of communication. So I know that's kind of a lengthy explanation. I went on for 20 minutes about that, but it just brought up so many things that were nuanced that I really wanted to explore. And it became a beautiful opportunity to take this to a different level, to take this down to the point of truly grasping and wrestling with the depth of the understanding of non-duality when it's really approached. Nothing you experience can be regarded as real. That is, it's not objective. It's not a solid thing at all. Our experience is always totally subjective. And therefore, the only way we can know truth is to know ourselves directly, subjectively, which starts with the simple focus of attention on the I am. So I hope that answers it for you. That was from Phoenix Rising, who's a new member of my private group. And Bill Burgess gave a very funny answer too. So which is actually a really good one, and then a funny Zen story at the end. I'll let you come to the group to read it. So thanks everybody. Thank you for joining me here on this spontaneous kind of popping up out of nowhere. I so enjoy doing this, and we'll see you all soon.